Good afternoon everyone. Today we will discuss the implications of Ceta. Ceta is a trade agreement between the EU and Canada. It's the first one between EU and a major world economy. And you might wonder why the EU chose Canada. Well, the reason is that Canada produces a lot of raw materials, while the EU produces a lot of finished goods. So each of them will specialize in one of the two, and then it will benefit both sides through maybe cheaper prices, and it will drain down to the citizens of both parts of the world. Governments of both the EU countries and Canada, they agree that the trade agreement will be beneficial for both sides. However, there are economists and environmentalists who don't really support this view. For example, we had a Belgian region, it's called Wallonia. They were against the trade agreement for the reason that they were worried about globalization, too much globalization, and that multinationals would have too much power in the future because of this trade agreement. In the video we will show you next, the Ceta will be discussed further, and it will be explained why Wallonia chose to delay Ceta a little bit.
NAFTA, Ceta, TPP. Welcome to the world of free trade agreements. But what are they? Like the name suggests, a free trade deal means getting rid of the taxes and tariffs countries charge each other while trading. For example, Canada has raw materials like lumber, precious metals, and diamonds, and they like to trade with Europe in exchange for finished goods such as car parts, machinery, and furniture. But tariffs mean extra costs, which are passed on to consumers. One such free trade agreement is Ceta, a deal between Canada and Europe 7 years in the making. The deal would eliminate 98% of tariffs, saving millions in taxes every year. But the deal recently hit a snag. Standing in the way was the tiny Belgian enclave of Wallonia, population 3.5 million, who were angry at increased globalization. Under Belgian law, the 5 regions in the country have a say in its decision-making, giving Wallonia de facto power to stop Ceta. Canada has made large concessions to make this deal happen, including a provision for corporations to sue governments and some visa requirements. Negotiations reached a breakthrough recently, and when the deal is signed, Ceta would boost Canada's income up to $12 billion a year. This deal is considered Canada's biggest bilateral initiative since NAFTA. While there's been much opposition to free trade in the news this year, it's clear that without these deals, Canadians will lose out.
As argued in the video, there are two sides to the agreement. I would like to invite 2 economist students to the discussion. On one hand we have you. He will be presenting the negative sides of the agreement, while Bim will be presenting the positive sides of the agreement. Let's start with Bim. What would be the benefits of Ceta?
We revisited the classical theories about absolute advantages and relative advantages. We see that every participating nations will benefit from the free trade agreements such as Ceta. Basically, if every country focus on produce certain products, produce more than they can consume, and then they export the extra amount, and then they import the products that other countries provide. This is a win-win situation. It's not a case when somebody win is someone else lost. The differences in technology and the production capacity will lead to the better division on labor on the international level, and then it is cheaper and more efficient to produce certain products in a country. So if we apply this to the case of Ceta, we see like Canada and all the European countries, they all have different relative advantages, as you already mentioned in the beginning of the talk. So it is very good for them to gain the economical benefits. There has been so far 2 studies about this. The first one is the joint report in 2008, and the second one is the sustainability assessment in 2011. And in both reports, they already found out that there will be the gain in the welfare, positive gain in welfare, GDP rise, as well as the export surplus increase in both Canada and Europe. And besides, for every 1 billion of export increase, they will create about 14,000 jobs, new jobs. And also the firms and also the consumers can enjoy the cheaper prices and a better variety of products.
Why don't you want Ceta?
Well, the thing is, the benefits that my opponent mentioned were all benefits in the long run for the aggregate economy. The benefit that stems from differences in levels of efficiency between Canada and Europe. So the more efficient sectors in Europe would take over from less efficient sectors in Canada. The result of this is that the products will be produced cheaper and that probably consumers will see a fall in prices. However, it also means that the less efficient sector in Canada will stand to lose. And if this results in businesses losing their business and their profits, it may result in people losing their jobs. Since we don't live in a world where people can seamlessly adjust to these kind of changes in their environment, it will result in more unemployment. And we should ask ourselves if we want that for the marginal benefits that both studies that my colleague here pointed out will bring to the aggregate economy.
So who do you think will benefit the most from Ceta?
It's the multinationals that will profit most from this agreement. The ones that are already established in Europe and Canada, they will have the know-how and of local markets and of how to ship their goods across the ocean. Since they already have this set up, it will cost them very little trouble and money to shift their sales from all over the world to Canada or Europe, in which it has now become more profitable to sell their products because of the lower barriers to trade. Small firms, on the other hand, do not have these networks and this knowledge at hand, so they will have to make large investments of time and money to profit from these lower barriers to trade. So, moreover, in the local producers, they will find that their multinational competitors from across the ocean will have become more competitive because of the lower barriers to trade. Therefore, they will have to lower their prices in order to keep up with these competitors, and therefore this will put downwards pressure on their profits. So therefore, they will not find it more easy to compete in their own markets.
So Ben, do you agree with this view?
Sorry, but I have to disagree with you on this term, because I think besides the benefit it could bring to big firms, the small and medium producers can enjoy the benefits from Ceta as well. Firstly, because under Ceta, Canada already protected 145 the geographical indications from Europe, such as the hierarchy from the Netherlands. So most of the product under this is agricultural products, which are processed by smaller producers. So with this, they can enjoy the advantage of marketing and sales in Canada without worrying that someone else can sell the products under the same famous brand name. And secondly, when the barrier between Canada and European are removed, I think this will help the smaller companies rather than do them harm. This is because before Ceta, all the big firms, they have enough resources to overcome all the difficulties when they do business in the international level, and they already established on the foreign market. However, the smaller firms, they have to face with a lot of burdens, such as higher tariff, higher taxes, more bureaucracy, paperwork. And now with this Ceta agreement, they can actually compete with the bigger firms because all this burden has been lessened. And I think this is a big opportunities for them to expand the market to like Canada or European countries.
Okay, so it looks like we have to wait till Ceta gets into work and see which ways it will go. Another part of the Ceta is the environmental issues. Right now, EU and Canada have different regulatory standards, and the Ceta demands both parties to have the kind of like similar regulatory standards. Do you think this will be a problem, you?
Yes, Miguel, this definitely is a problem, because although some of the issues that have been raised in the public debate have been addressed by the two governments, the new treaty is still far from perfect. Because there may be still sources of unfair competitiveness arising from differences in regulation between the two continents. Moreover, there's the so-called ISDS mechanism, the Investor-State Dispute Settlement. This mechanism allows multinational corporations to sue governments outside of the normal judicial system. In these courts, multinationals can sue governments for, well, claims rising up to more than $1 billion if they perceive that their profits are threatened by new regulation that the government passes. So this mechanism is not new. It has been included in many other free trade treaties, including NAFTA. But so we know what it can do. So Canada has been sued by a multinational because they passed legislation putting a restriction on fracking, which is a way of gathering shale gas in a very controversial way, which is supposedly may harm the environment. Also, Uruguay has been sued by Philip Morris because they passed legislation to enlarge the health warnings on packs of cigarettes. So if you see examples of this, these are perfect examples of where the government has to step in to prevent so-called market failures. Situations where markets do not where free markets result in a situation that is not optimal for society. So the government has to compensate for this. This is one of the key tasks of a government, and this task, the government is threatened in its capability to perform this task by the ISDS mechanism. Although it's not said that the multinationals will win these cases, it is probable that the size of the claims, which are huge, and the costs of defending as a country in these courts is also very large. That this alone will will restrict governments from passing legislation to prevent these market failures.
Both Canada and European countries, they are developed economies, and they have a similar and high level of standards themselves. On the one hand, when Canada and EU accept each other's conformity assessment or the professional certifications, then they will save the firms and the labor forces a lot of time and money when they want to work in the other side. On the other hand, I don't think we have to worry about all the differences between the standards because all the differences will be reserved for future review. So for example, when you go to the supermarket in the Netherlands, you still won't have to worry about products such as the hormone beef or the chloride chicken because the EU's ban policy on the product that is harmful to the public health or the environment will still be under effect. And moreover, about the ISDS, I think this is necessary to protect the investment because it will help to make sure that they can invest without worrying about the risks of the change in policy, which is really necessary.
So, as we just saw, the Ceta will have a lot of economic benefits. However, there are some issues, mainly environmental issues, that need to be addressed in the future. I thank Bim and you for your participation in the discussion. Thank you very much. And I thank you all for your attention.